Just like any language, music has vocabulary, called music theory. This is a way to translate music into spoken language. I'll do my best not to get too technical, but there are some terms that will be helpful to know. A scale refers to the set of notes used in a song. You might have heard of the major scale, which many people perceive as sounding happy. A minor scale is generally considered sad. Let's hear two versions of a familiar tune to compare. First, we'll hear the major version, then the minor version. These are just two of the many scales that can each evoke different emotions. You can use the notes of a scale to build a melody. Melody is a combination of pitch and rhythm. In other words, melodies are described in terms of how high, low, long, or short the notes are. Melodies can be used to convey certain ideas or themes. When a melody recurs throughout or between pieces of music, it is called a leitmotif. Harmony is at least two notes played at the same time. 3 or more notes is called a chord. Harmony can provide emotional context for the melody through tension and release. The first chord in a scale usually feels most at rest. This is called the tonic chord or key center. Each subsequent chord varies in how happy, sad, relaxed, or tense it is. Let's zoom in and focus on just the first 5 notes of the major scale. Pay attention to the first and fourth notes. Now, let's change just one note in that scale and raise the fourth note in pitch. Instead of playing this note, we'll play this one. With this small change, we can elicit a whole new mood. We are no longer using a major scale, but rather a Lydian scale. The Lydian scale prominently features a harmony called a tritone. This is a rather dissonant interval that is generally used to prompt direction somewhere else. By raising or sharpening the fourth note in the scale, we get a brighter and more directional sound. Let's hear the Lydian scale in action. I'll play a clip of my song that uses a Lydian scale, then we'll hear it with the major scale. I utilized this bright directional sound provided by the tritone to capture the innocence of childhood, when our aspirations exist without any pretenses dictating how or who we're supposed to be. Throughout this project, the tritone will represent our aspirations. In the context of the bright Lydian scale, we get a sense of optimism and opportunity. Still, the tritone has yet to be resolved, just as our dreams have yet to be realized. The tritone lends a sort of potentiality, an excited eagerness with an anticipatory, maybe even foreboding atmosphere. The muffled quality of the piano adds to the distant and dreamlike atmosphere. The first song I will present today, entitled Drowning, is composed of 3 distinct sections. Here's a segment of part 1, the blank slate. Eventually, the unadulterated aspiration of the Lydian tritone fades, though we remain in a major key, indicating a steadfast optimism. We see an inkling that the world made plans for us long before we could provide our input. There's a sinking feeling that seems unyielding in its insistence, dragging us along before we've had a chance to orient ourselves. There's a clear line of descent that dictates our course of action, forcing the harmony to conform around its predetermined path. It walks down each note of the piano, a technique called a line cliché. Let's hear an example of this. The melody tries to rise above its environment, but is pulled down by a world already set in its ways. Now that we understand the line cliché, let's hear it in context. Finally, that unbroken spirit gives way to a new key, one that uses a Dorian scale. In the same way that Lydian is a brighter version of the major scale, a Dorian scale is darker than a major scale, but brighter than a minor scale. It has a similar floatiness as a Lydian scale, but it feels hazy and dissociative. Let's have a listen. Now that we've heard each of these parts individually, let's hear them put together.
Flesh is stitched together by dirges left unwritten, landed only in my mind and on my lips handwritten. Nerves all speak in echoes, murmuring half-fast, delirium that only grows, pacing in its tract, visceral dysphoria, fitted in my gut.
Spiraling further, we land in an even darker, perhaps evil key based on a harmonic minor scale, landing us in the trench. For our purposes, the harmonic minor scale will represent the expectations our environment imposes upon us. However, in this song, I use notes that don't usually belong in a harmonic minor scale. The scale I use in this song also contains a tritone, calling back to our aspirations motif. In this context, our aspirations are now facing the reality of our environment. Where in the Lydian scale, raising the fourth note provided an air of optimism, in this scale, the tritone is brought about by a lowered or flattened fifth note in the scale. This flattened fifth results in a more brooding, restricted sound. I racked my brain to determine what this scale would be called, but as far as I know, it doesn't have a name. While traditional music theory provides a foundation for writing songs with intentionality, breaking the rules broadens the tools at our disposal and affords a more nuanced tone. As the harsh reality of the world begins to settle within our psyche, the environment begins to feel suffocating and bleak. Our once sacred aspirations have become a painful reminder of our obligation to the status quo. The lethargic trudging of the percussion and the claustrophobic, sour chord progression represent structural systems of power that prescribe our very sense of self and deprive us of choice. Here's my song called The Trench.
Scorching my skin, 20 years on my back. The burden of wanting it takes from me all the strength I have left. If I work till I crack, although the cracks bleed, I can muster a laugh. I'm avoiding my worries, I forget my needs.
Although our environment can be a hostile place, I wanted to capture the relief that family, friends, or lovers offer, a moment's respite from the expectations of the world. In this song, the initial guitar section uses counterpoint melody, weaving together a mosaic of unique voices that create something greater than the sum of its parts, a community. The second section represents the intimacy of belonging. In this case, our tonic chord has a bit more nuance, a major seventh chord. This chord essentially stacks a minor chord on top of a major chord, representing how community can help to reconcile our internal aspirations with the jarring reality of the external world, providing something meaningful to focus our inherent virtues into. When it feels hard to carry on for our own sake, community can make our hardship feel more worthwhile. Within this comfort, there lingers a restlessness that it might be taken away by forces outside of our control. In attempting to preserve community, we risk inhibiting our own growth by refusing to adapt. This apprehension is represented by a droning bass note that remains constant as the chords change around it. Rather than providing stability, the drone dictates the emotional context of its environment. We have come to embody the suffocating nature of the world we had worked so hard to dissuade. Now, let's hear my song, Dry Eyes and Lullabies.
with the daffodils, empty halls and frameless stills, and the sweet strawberry clover laden summer skies with bathing in the rainbow. You don't
Our next song, The Turnaround, is essentially the intermission of the album. The quick tempo and time signature make the music feel fleeting and intangible, simultaneously monotonous and transient. The chords mirror this sort of frenetic energy, as though someone is trying to make sense of a world changing too fast for them to keep up with. Our friend, the descent motif, makes a return, a reminder that for better or worse, time will pass and things will change. An opposing force attempts to combat the uncontrollable nature of the world, an upward line cliché, the climb motif. Each adversary as stubborn as the other, we land in a rut, a record skipping, stagnant. A dissonance grows ever glaring and more deafening, drowning out any sense of rhythm or melody. Eventually, a trace of the melody returns, truncated, and seeming to have forgotten where it came from or where it goes. Here is The Turnaround. When community ultimately fails to fully justify inner turmoil, our sense of self is rendered vulnerable to collapse. Here, the descent motif appears for the first time in a minor key, indicating that our untainted aspirations are now thoroughly forgotten, obscured by the weight of the world. We are made to believe that such affliction is all there ever was and all there ever will be. There is an initial semblance of stability, feeling as though we might be able to continue on like this indefinitely. Inevitably, the steady rhythm breaks, giving way to an off-kilter, contorted echo of itself. The climb motif, feeling its control over its external world slipping away, attempts to re-establish its footing, but it too is flimsy. Without any internal grounding, the climb and the descent are each fragile enough to be disrupted by even a small adversity. We enter a state of dreaminess that calls back to the Dorian scale. This time, it feels manufactured and detached, like a facade disguising the anguish that lies dormant. When even a taste of the harmonic minor trench rears its ugly head, the descent and climb motifs continue in their opposition, with no clear sign of resolution. I present to you Polarity.
It's getting to the point I don't know what to do. I'll never see the point explaining to you. Go ahead and grieve who you thought I should be, and keep your salvation far away from me.
Do you feel the polarity all in the air? It's you and me, babe, we're going down there. And through the outdoor, hiding away, the static carries clear, I hear them say.
Rumination has now infiltrated the very core of our being, trapping us in an insistent and unrelenting minor chord. There is almost no harmonic movement, with any attempts to escape immediately brought back to where it belongs by the pessimistic harmonic minor scale and the tritone's painful reminder of how things used to be. The repetitive chord represents an exhaustion with the inability to accept the dissonance between one's ideals and the challenges of the world. Finally, breaking away from this perpetual state of dejection, we realize that what we thought was our struggle against the world was really a struggle against ourselves. Here is The Stranger in My Mind.
Still stuck chasing dreams I could never be. I'm sick of singing this fucking melody. I'm also hoping to find there's a stranger in my mind.
In all honesty, I had hoped to find a more concrete way to end the ruminative nature of the stranger in my mind. This was one of the first songs I wrote for this project, years ago when I was a fresh out of high school 18-year-old. I think it's appropriate that I have yet to put this tension to rest, as I am not done learning. I still struggle to let go and allow myself the privilege of rest when there is so much going wrong for so many people. This project has taught me a lot about myself and how I hope to engage with the world. Although bittersweet, we arrive at a conclusion, having learned how to bridge the gap between our ideals and our reality. The chord progression resembles that from the turnaround, but the tempo lends a sense of tranquility. Our tonic chord is again a wistful major seventh, but this time we can see the beauty in the dissonance, basking in the contradictory nature of existence. The pursuit of control has dissipated, and acceptance has alleviated the anxiety, self-doubt, and shame. We have come to realize that no exertion of power over our environment can compensate for an unwillingness to address discontentment within ourselves. Likewise, no desire to change ourselves can free us from the hardships inherent to life itself. As my final song, here is Bridging the Gap. Life does not exist in a vacuum. It is a continuum of action and reaction. I will leave you with a quote from neurologist and philosopher Viktor Frankl that I feel captures my sentiment. The meaning of life is to give life meaning. Thank you.